If you grew up watching Three's Company, you probably remember Norman Fell as grumpy but lovable landlord Mr. Roper. In this video, we'll explore why Norman Fell took a gamble on leaving one of the most popular sitcoms of all time, and how his fears regrettably proved justified. Facts First presents why Norman Fell was scared when he left Three's Company. A risky bet. Norman Fell was a veteran actor who already had appeared in many films and TV shows before he landed the role of Mr. Roper on Three's Company. Fell had studied acting with Stella Adler in New York City and moved to Hollywood in 1958. Before finding success on television, he'd played minor roles in movies like Ocean's 11, The Graduate, and Bullitt, and had been nominated for an Emmy for his performance as a boxing trainer in Rich Man, Poor Man. When Norman auditioned for Three's Company, he impressed the producers with his impeccable comedic timing and his compelling chemistry with Audra Lindley, who played his wife Helen. Much to his delight, he was cast as Stanley Roper, the crotchety but endearing landlord who didn't trust Jack or his lady roomies as far as he could throw them. Mr. Roper quickly became one of the most popular characters on Three's Company after the series debuted in 1977. For his work on the series, Norman Fell won a Golden Globe for Best TV Actor in a Supporting Role in 1979 for his portrayal of Mr. Roper. His character was known for his deadpan expressions, sarcastic remarks, and signature gesture of breaking the fourth wall by looking at the camera after making a joke or a put-down. In 1979, Norman was offered a chance to star in his own spin-off called The Ropers, along with his Three's Company co-star Audra Lindley. The show would follow Stanley and Helen as they moved from their apartment building to a posh townhouse complex where they would interact with a new collection of neighbors and characters. The show's producers hoped the Ropers would replicate the success of Three's Company and appeal to its loyal fan base. But you know what they say about getting your hopes up. While the idea of having his own series seemed promising, Norman Fell was very nervous about leaving. He loved working with John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, and Suzanne Summers, and hated the idea of bidding them farewell. He also feared that the Ropers might not be as funny or as popular as Three's Company. Because of his reasonable concerns, he asked ABC if he could return to Three's Company if the Ropers failed within 1 year. ABC agreed, but as you'll soon see, they later shamelessly reneged. Unfortunately, Norman Fell's fears were realized when the Ropers failed to perform. It faced stiff competition from other sitcoms like Archie Bunker's Place, Alice, One Day at a Time, MASH, and Taxi. It also suffered from poor writing, weak jokes, and a noticeable lack of chemistry among the primary cast members. It lasted only 2 seasons before it was abruptly canceled by ABC in 1980. Fell out, knots in. When Norman Fell and Audra Lindley left Three's Company to star in their own spin-off, they left a big void in the show. The characters were fan favorites, and Fell and Lindley seemed right at home as members of the cast. They were often involved in hilarious situations and misunderstandings with the other main characters, and obviously this sort of chemistry would be hard to duplicate with someone else. To fill their shoes, the producers hired Don Knotts, the veteran actor and comedian who had worked with John Ritter before on The Bob Newhart Show. Knotts was cast as Ralph Furley, a new landlord who inherited the building from his brother Bart. He was a flamboyant bachelor who wore colorful outfits and tried to act cool and hip, but was also naive and gullible, which made him easy to fool by Jack and his friends. Don Knotts made his first appearance on the show in the 4th season premiere, A New Landlord. In the episode, he meets Jack, Janet, and Chrissy for the first time and mistakes them for a gay man, a prostitute, and a runaway. He also meets Larry Dallas, Jack's best friend and neighbor, who tries to take advantage of him. Don Knotts quickly became a fan favorite. He brought his own style of comedy and physical humor to the show. He also had great chemistry with Ritter and the gang. Knotts stayed on the show until its final episode in 1984. Many critics and viewers considered Don Knotts to be a good addition to the show. He helped keep it fresh and funny after Norman Fell's departure. He also won 2 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series for his role as Ralph. Broken Promises. When The Ropers was canceled after 2 seasons due to low ratings and poor reviews, Norman Fell hoped he could resume his role as Mr. Roper on Three's Company. Despite previously agreeing to Fell's terms, ABC had already hired Don Knotts, who had quickly become very popular. Going back on what they previously agreed to, ABC refused to honor their agreement with Norman Fell. He felt utterly betrayed by ABC and regretted ever leaving. He was quoted as saying, "I should have stayed put. I blew it." He also admitted he missed working with Ritter, DeWitt, Summers, and the rest of the cast. Reportedly, Fell never watched The Ropers or Three's Company ever again after feeling like he had gotten stabbed in the back by the network. Fortunately, there's no evidence that Norman Fell and Don Knotts disliked each other or had a feud following the unfolding of these unfortunate events. In fact, they both appeared in the same TV show, The Steve Allen Show, before they became famous for their roles in Three's Company and The Andy Griffith Show. They also worked together on an episode of The Love Boat that aired in 1981, where they played old friends who reunited after years of separation. While Norman didn't hold a grudge against Knotts for replacing him, that didn't stop him from beating himself up for years for voluntarily choosing to leave. Norman Fell and Don Knotts were both talented and respected actors who entertained millions of viewers with their humor and charisma. It's reassuring to know that they didn't have personal or professional animosity towards each other. Fell's later years and death. After The Ropers was canceled due to low ratings, Norman Fell continued to work steadily in both comedy and drama roles. He appeared in several TV shows, such as Teachers Only, where he played Ben Cooper, Needles and Pins, where he played Nathan Davidson, and Crazy Like a Fox. He also guest starred on popular shows like The Love Boat, Murder, She Wrote, Matlock, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Norman also had a successful film career, appearing in many movies that showcased his range and talent. Some of his notable films include The Graduate, Bullet, Catch-22, For the Boys, and Hexed. He received critical acclaim for some of his performances. He won a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor in 1979 for Three's Company. He was nominated for an Emmy for his dramatic role as Tom Jordash's boxing trainer in the miniseries Rich Man, Poor Man. And also he received praise for his portrayal of a villainous character who slaps Angie Dickinson in Ronald Reagan's last film, The Killers. Norman was not only a talented actor, but also a generous and kind person. He supported many charitable causes and helped young actors pursue their dreams. He was married 3 times and had 2 daughters. Sadly, Fell died of bone marrow cancer on December 14, 1998, at age 74, leaving behind a legacy of laughter and excellence that will always be remembered by his loved ones and fans. Hollywood reacted with sadness and respect at Norman Fell's passing. Many of his former co-stars and colleagues paid tribute to him and praised his talent and personality. John Ritter said Fell was a great actor who made him laugh every day. Joyce DeWitt said Fell was a wonderful man who taught her a lot about comedy. And Suzanne Summers said Fell was a very sweet man who always had a twinkle in his eye. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of Norman Fell? Do you think ABC should have given him his role back on Three's Company? Let us know in the comments section below.